Okay, so right now we have our character with the whole rig for the face, but it is not connected. It's not bound yet. We haven't bound it because we have the character completely is in one piece, and we cannot bind it yet. We could bind it just for testing purposes, but it's not worth spending the time on doing weight painting. If you had the character completely separate, you probably could do that. Let me just open up a previous scene just to show you. Um, so if you had a character that, this is the previous version of Sylvia, that she was completely separate, you could go ahead and do the weight painting, and the videos will show you that on how to, of course, bind the body and do the weight painting to control the you see the weight painting part to do all the weights on the different things. We're going to this later on more in detail when we get to since most of us are having a separate character, a separate character in one piece. We are going to try to do that later when we have the whole rig put together. Alright, so here I have my character, and she has some facial expressions. I haven't connected them yet to that to my controllers, and I don't have enough facial expressions, but this still serves a purpose. So I have a little bit of pretend that she has facial expressions, and one of the things that people use sometimes for deforming and for modifying things is clusters. I'm not a big fan of clusters. They sometimes give me trouble and become annoying, and they don't work that well. But some people use them, and I'm going to just show you what clusters do, and you can play with them a little bit. So if you, let's say, if you were to create a way for her to push her puff her cheekbones. Let's say this cheekbone, I will create that one. I'm gonna select, I'm gonna turn off self selection for a moment. I'm gonna select the whole cheekbone here, and I'm going to go, let me just hide my joints for a moment. And you would go and create under the deform, you can go create a cluster right there. So you can open it up, and there are different ways of doing it. You can do it relative or non-relative, and that relates to becoming connected to the join chain and all that. So I'm going to keep it relative, and I'm going to go advanced. I'm going to keep it exclusive. That way it can have its own partition, its own way of doing weight painting. So I'm going to create that, and that puts a little C right in front of it. And that C, what it does, it allows me to manipulate and push her cheek out. And of course, controlling that becomes a little bit of an annoyance, and so people sometimes just create controllers over those pieces, and that way let me see if you can snap it to that. That way you could manipulate her cheekbone manually. So it would, let me just try to do it the right way. I'm going to change the pivot point for my thing to the cluster, for my controller to the cluster. I'm going to call it left cheek bone control, and of course that would do a from the control to the cluster. Let me turn up the geometry there for a moment. To the cluster, you create just a parent constraint. That way, now you can just make it larger, easier to grab, whatever it is. So you can use and control the cheekbone of your character through that. clusters by default, right now this one is selecting just those vertices, so it's not exactly smooth or precise, but it gives you the opportunity to modify it. So if I were to, or if I wanted to modify it, there is a way for me to paint the cluster weight. You can see at the bottom here, paint weights. And actually, the video that the link that I have on D2L shows in a different location because it's coming from an older version of Maya, but still pretty much same thing. So I can here go and open up my clusters weight painting, and it's exactly the same thing as the weight painting that we do for joints. So you can use the smooth tool to relax, for example, a little bit the influence of that, so that you can have a less strong. Right now, I'm using just little by little. Let me see, but I just kind of paint on it a bit more carefully until I can get it to relax a bit more. If I had selected just the center, just one vertex, probably it would have a smaller region, but this gives me a nice way of smoothing and controlling it so that we have enough there. And then of course what I would do here is I would group that controller and again modify center pivot point, and I'm going to snap that pivot point to the cluster itself. I think that's it. No, that's not it. Let me just turn off this and make sure I pivot it to the cluster. I think is there. Alright, and then I'm just gonna call this one left cheekbone control group. And of course this one will become part of the whole head. The group itself will become part of the whole head control. Again, I've had issues with clusters before. Sometimes they break, and sometimes they don't follow the rig. So it becomes a bit of an annoyance sometimes. But let's see, this one is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Of course, the head is not bound, so of course that's why the head is not following. Any questions about that? Okay, Julian's good. Again, the idea with this is that again, it's optional, but I think it's a good opportunity for us to have extra control over it. Don't abuse it. I don't think clusters are the best solution. Because they are just based on specific location. There's another one that there are multiple ways. People create joints, just simply joints, and then they just bind them to the face, and then they just create controllers over the joints, and that would be it. So it's just fine too. So the other option we have is using wire deformers, and they allow you to control regions with a little bit more flexibility compared to the cluster. The cluster being just a localized point, and wire deformers is pretty much curves that allow you to have the opportunity to manipulate certain regions in a linear way. And it's not a perfect tool either. It has some good things and some bad things. Good things allow you to control, kind of like, if you think of it more like as ridges or zones that allow you to have, almost like if you think of muscles or tendons that are moving parts of geometry. So in this case, for example, I'm going to create a curve right starting here, there, there, there. Hit enter. That curve actually is in the middle of my character, so I'm gonna go and just move it forward, modify center pivot point for that one. Oops, modify center pivot point, then move it forward and look at it right where it's going to be located right there. And I'm going to use to fit it so that it sub-selection, push it back a little bit, maybe a little bit more. There. So trying to maintain, of course, maintain it close to the geometry so that you have a better chance to manipulate it. I can just see if I can look at my shape there. Let me try to select it by object. Okay, that's pretty much it. And I'm gonna just give it a name. Just gonna call it left. I'm just gonna call it face wrinkle. And then I'm going to mirror that over. So I'm gonna just change the pivot point for that one and then snap it to the center of a character there. And by pressing D, I just turned off the pivot point, and then I'm just going to simply just duplicate special mirror -1 in X, and then duplicate. And then I'm going to modify center the pivot point for that one, and modify center the pivot point for the previous one. The new one, I just need to rename it. So it's gonna be right face wrinkle. And I have those two right there, closer to the face. I could probably keep it like that for now. And I'm going to now connect them to the face of my character. So let me just bring them closer to the mouth, a little bit closer to this edge, just a tiny bit. Just gonna move it here and there. And then this one too. I'm gonna freeze transformation, which I need to fix it because it went a little too close in the face. So I'm just gonna use my mirror key to go up and then turn on my sub-selection and pull it out so I can see it there. There you go. And make sure this one there too. That one actually needs to come forward a little bit more.